have to do that.
It's no specific rule for that.
Well, you have to be in South Walton. Doesn't, even though he wants to serve, he doesn't live in South. His office is here and his home.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Karen, what's the business? Let me know when you're ready. Wi-Fi, all one word. Are you good if we go ahead and open? Okay. Are you guys? Are you guys ready? Okay. Karen? All right. Okay, go ahead and open our July 1st Design Review Board meeting. Thank you guys for coming. One quick announcement. If your item is going to be continued or if you have participation in future meetings, check back with us. We possibly are not going to be having Zoom participation coming in the August, so that's starting to be phased out potentially. So I think they're still making those decisions with the board of county commissioners, and might see some changes. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that before we get too far into the month.
Kelly, what
Yes,
did you
ma'am.
say we may not be doing?
The BCC might be phasing out the Zoom participation. So just check back and kind of see what we might have. All right. Any announcements other than that, Tim?
I meant to talk to you before the meeting. The first item, Alvin's Island color deviation, they've come back with approved colors. So it's not really a deviation. And they're showing what the previous month's approval looks like, but that's already been approved and it's not on our agenda. So I'm not sure how to handle this first item.
It's still requesting the paint scheme, correct?
Yes, it's just not a deviation now. He's proposing approved colors.
Mm-hmm.
Talked to you before the meeting, but I forgot.
I would expect that we still do. I don't know that there's a issue with it being advertised as a deviation if we are indicating that it's not a deviation. It'd be an issue if it was the other way around, but not with that.
I guess you can always approve anything less
Right.
than what was advertised. You just can't approve anything more. I just wasn't sure how to procedurally how to handle this item.
That would be my gut feeling is we just kind of would proceed. It just wouldn't be an actual deviation. It'd just be approval of the colors.
Okay, so
So I think that would be okay. If Steve joins us, we could ask the question, but I think that certainly wouldn't, as far as I know, because we're not moving the other direction.
yeah,
Should be fine.
we're
Yeah.
approving less than what was advertised. Okay, well, do you want me to start with this item?
Well, we
Oh, the
have
minutes.
minutes,
Get the
and then do we want to move the sign up? Okay. So we'll start with number one, the request to approve the minutes from the June 3rd DRB meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review those?
Yeah.
Any issues? Concerns, or does anybody care to make a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and approve and a second. All in favor? Aye. Okay. And just to save a little time, if we can make a motion to move item number 6, the Fluent Building Sign, up ahead so that they don't have to sit here, and through the rest of our items, like the poor sign permit from last June's meeting. I'd like to do that if we can make that motion.
Motion to, which,
Motion, do we need to make a motion on that, or can we just hear it first? Okay, I think so. Okay. Do you have a problem, anybody have a problem moving the sign up ahead? So they can get out of here? Okay. I think we have to have an action.
So I move to move item number 6.
Okay. We have a motion, second?
second.
Motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So Tim, if you wouldn't mind, I know that throws the order out a little bit, but just seeing how everything went last time, it feels right to do that one.
Good evening, Tim Brown with Planning and Development. This is a request for a building sign measuring 21.5 inches by 96 inches for a total of 14.33 square feet on 3.58 acres with the future land use of mixed use and the zoning of coastal center. Project's located in District 5 at 9637 US Highway 98 West. It is compliant with the scenic corridor. With that, I'd like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll take any questions the board may have.
We'll acknowledge the staff report being entered. And I guess for Lee's benefit, we had an additional handout on the sign. It's identical to the one in your packet, other than it has a aerial photograph showing where the placement of the sign is, just that it's a standalone building with that placement. I don't know if we can try to hold the picture up, or if you can email the picture to Lee. But the rest of the information is the same. It's just they added a little aerial depiction showing it's a standalone building, and that the sign would be placed to the frontage.
Okay. Thank you. I got it. Thank you.
Any discussion or questions for Tim? Is Tim the applicant here on this one? Okay.
Eloquent Signs.
He may not have known.
Kelly, do you mind if I just make a quick comment?
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think I have a problem with the sign, but this is one of those, I'm so sorry, my dog, and she's gonna bark. This is one of those that it would have been nice to see the whole building, to see some context of where this is. I mean, I can't even remember what building this is, but, so just a point that it would be nice to have some on these pictures so we can see how it fits in with the surrounding building or buildings, depending on the situation.
I agree, and I think that that's something that we would definitely like to see more of, any kind of contextual photographs. And it doesn't necessarily
Doesn't show.
Right, the aerial just demonstrates it's a single building and
Yeah,
not
it doesn't really show the street,
right.
this, context.
right,
so.
or context of the full building.
Right.
But it does look like they're attempting to center, I'm guessing that's over, over door. Or- I'm not sure. Do you know if, Tim, if that's a door or a window that the sign is being centered over?
Not sure. I haven't been out there, but it appears to be a window. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I need to remember to have them to do that. In this case, I did not remember, but I usually try to make sure they show at least the whole building.
Are there other bays that have signs on them, or?
Not that I'm aware of. This is a standalone building.
I'm looking at the street view, and it's where the signage was on that building previously. The entrance is actually in the side of the building,
Oh, okay.
and there's a smaller parapet, but it's got some brick pattern where it's running color striations through it, which is why they have it set there. So, considering it's replacing the existing signage and it properly sized and everything for the building, I have no problem with it.
Yeah. Seems to be pretty consistent. Okay. Does anybody have, do we have anybody from the audience that wants to speak? Any public comment? Okay, seeing none. Anybody care to make a motion? Okay, we have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so now we'll move back up to, what was item number 2, the Albans Island color deviation. Tim?
Yes, this is a request submitted by Lee Goodson requesting approval of color deviation on 1.28 acres with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of coastal center. Project's located in District 5 at 10271 US Highway 98 West. Provided in the packet both the colors and the surfboards the way they were approved last month. So with that, I would like to enter the staff report into the record, and I'll take any questions the board may have.
Okay, we'll note the staff report's been entered.
Applicant is here.
Yep, and we do have samples here, so let me get those. Yep.
So are the colors that are depicted in the packet, agenda packet materials, the old ones or the ones that now meet or Munsell approved Munsell colors?
Yeah, Lee, why don't you come up and,
They are approved Munsell colors.
You see notated on the drawing, the Munsell color and the equivalent Benjamin Moore color. And then I went and bought the Benjamin Moore colors from Frank's and put those color chips, are they stuck together? So there's the blue and green that are the Munsell colors, and the gray for the trim. And then the brick I colored with the green around it because there are some brick tiles, some rustic tiles on the building, so that you get an idea of what the green looks like against,
existing brick.
yeah, the existing roof tiles. So that kind of gives you the whole color palette. Lawrence, I know you wanted to see how it all blended together.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you put the blue against that color palette with a brick, you'll see sort of what that all's going to look like.
Yeah. Easier to start the directions.
Yeah.
And it is more sedate than the marker looks.
Better.
The gray is a lot lighter.
Yeah, so it looks a lot better than the marker does.
I don't know if it's worth trying to hold these up to. Got it, okay. We're gonna try, Lacey, how it it comes.
Thank y'all. Thank you, Tim, so very much. Okay, got that.
So that's the blue. It looks a lot, actually looks a lot brighter when we're looking at the feedback from the Zoom
Yeah.
screen.
In the Zooms,
That second one you saw was the green, and then this is the gray.
gray is
Okay,
lighter.
I'm gonna have to rely on you guys a good bit on this. I mean, it looks good from here. You're saying that it looks a little brighter on the Zoom screen than it actually is?
Yes.
Yeah, just similar to the packet, it looks much brighter in the packet than it does in person. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
And the gray is
thank
lighter.
you.
Okay.
So what do you think?
Am I correct that there isn't, it's not a deviation? You're meeting the months of colors that the county has given. I appreciate you getting the samples made. It's helpful for us to see them in person, so thank you.
That's correct, yeah.
And the
So,
surfboards have been changed
right,
4.
4,
Yeah, thank
for the
you.
rendering that you got there.
Yep.
which does look much better. Yeah.
That's why
Mm-hmm.
I don't have,
I don't have any objections to it. I think that you've met, all the requirements. Or
Where
or
we're at.
input. So,
Okay.
I motion to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone else from the audience, any public comment for this project? Seeing none, we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye,
Approved. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
really big improvement. Thank you.
Item number 3, the Townplace Suites. Tim?
This is a major development order application submitted by Baskerville Donovan requesting approval to construct a 100-unit hotel with pool amenity and associated infrastructure on 1.53 acres with the future land use of mixed use and the zoning of coastal center. Project's located in District 5 at 39 Scenic Gulf Drive. This was continued from your last meeting. There's an existing hotel there that they're going to tear down and redevelop with this hotel. I wasn't at last month's meeting, so I don't know what all they changed, but my understanding is they've made the changes that was requested from last month. And with that, I'll enter the staff report into the record, and I'll entertain any questions the board may have.
Tim, go ahead and show their staff report's been entered. Is the applicant here or on Zoom?
Yes, good evening. Mike Langston with Baskerville Donovan, and I am the owner's representative for this project. Now, last time I met, we were on Zoom, so I wasn't able to fully present all the data. We understood you had some concerns with the project. We have got the team together, the architects here tonight to talk about some of those changes that you had requested. Just in general terms, cover a few things in real brief. There was some discussion about the parking.
Mhm.
We did get back with the planning staff.
I think you hit the button.
Oh.
Right there.
Yeah?
So parking spots, sorry.
Yes, we did get back with Tim and talked about the parking spots. By reducing those spaces to 18 feet standard and providing the wheel stops, that allowed us to add a significant amount of landscaping around the building. That, basically you take 2 feet off on each side, another 4 feet. That allowed us also to increase the landscape perimeter around the building so that we meet all those requirements. We also had some discussions about the fencing. So we had previously moved the fencing back along the property line. That 4 feet each side allowed us to move that fence back. So now we have enough space to put the fence and the trees on the outside perimeter of the fence. In doing that, we moved some things around also. We did eliminate the fire pit that was in the front. That's all landscaping island stuff now. We also moved the dumpster pad back onto the southwest corner of the building. Let's see, what else was there? We do have the color palettes for the building that you had asked for. We have renderings and illustrations of the perimeter buffer fence that you had asked for, the wall that was asked, along with the tree plantings. All the plantings meet the requirements. We had first asked for a variance before we ever started on this to get the parking ratio down, 1 for 1 instead of 1.1 to 1. As part of that, we also were allowed to reduce the number of landscape islands in our variance. So we've gone back and added those landscape islands in. So we have 2 more additional landscape islands that try to break up that parking again. So we're not asking for a director's determination. We got rid of those because we were able to shift the parking around and add more landscaping and more appealing view that we would like for you to consider tonight. So with that, that's just the general information I had for you. The architect is here tonight to answer questions related to the building and related to the landscaping.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I would like to say, I think that the improvements have been very noticeable. As soon as you pull up the packet, you could see some of the changes that had occurred, and I really like that you were able to add in the extra landscape islands.
Yes, ma'am.
But I also like that you were able to go back and add some landscaping along the wall to help break that space up even further, especially the wall on the western side of the property, because that one didn't have anything on it
Yes, ma'am.
at all. And I think that really significantly improves the aesthetic of that whole side. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys working some solutions and finding some ways to make this, I think, a better project going forward. And I understand, the loss of the fire pit area and some of the outdoor amenity, but I think that the addition of the additional landscape there and some of the softness really improves that front door view from my perspective. So I understand the sacrifice for the outdoor amenity pieces, but some of the softness, especially when you have such large expanses of built material, helps. I do have one question about the material on the fence, the wall. Is that material or that color also replicated in the building, or is that a new introduction?
Let me ask Michael Harper, the architect, to answer that question.
Here's a page.
Oh, perfect.
Split face block. It's really just used at the fencing and then at the pool, the fencing around the pool.
Okay, so it does replicate.
It does replicate in more than 2 locations, and there's, I don't know if the rendering picks it up, but at some points it's a smooth finish, and some points it's a rough finish.
Yeah, this,
Color combination.
nice.
Yeah, and I do agree that it's tough in the renderings, you know, just the lighting turns the blue
Right.
darker, even when holding them up just a minute ago, like you could tell the difference from looking at the monitors, so.
Well, I just looking at the, site plan with all those trees, it just feels cooler.
Especially
You know,
on
it
the
feels
western
like,
side
you
of the
know,
building,
there's,
for sure.
You know, it's less harsher environment.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I mean, Michael summed it up pretty good, but we've maxed out the landscape. We've added some stuff along the perimeter of the building, some I guess, vertical vine elements along portions of the north face of the building, just trying to maximize. In some places, there wasn't enough room to put a shrub, so.
Right.
You know, 6 foot tall, kind of metal fence with some vines and all that will grow up over time.
Yeah, I think it's a great improvement.
I totally agree. I mean, I think it makes the building feels like it's nicer and friendlier to the community.
That climbing fence, it's only used against the building, correct? You have the creeping
Correct.
fig on the external
Correct,
wall?
it's only
Okay.
used up against the building, yeah.
Okay.
Everything along the screen is the creeping fig, yeah.
Did you have to lose parking spots as part of that process, or were you able to shift it?
We are able to keep the 100 parking spots.
Great.
Yeah, we definitely think it's improvement, and, you know, the fire pit is a little bit of loss, but at the same time, when we started looking, kind of feels weird sitting right by the entrance, kind of at the drop off.
Yeah, I
So-
can see that. All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Any additional questions or any more discussion?
I would say in terms of the fire pit, I mean, our weather is much more warmer most of the time, so providing shade is much better than a fire pit.
Mhm.
Good job.
Yeah.
There was, in the last meeting, we did not have any, comments really about the building, the
No.
signage, it was all
Yeah, everything
about-
else we felt was really,
Exactly.
yeah, it was just how the landscaping and green space,
That was
re-
our-
Dumpster, the location
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
dumpster.
And the
we
dumpster, which
relocated
got
the dumpster
relocated.
from the one public comment.
I mean, I feel like,
What-
successful changes. Lee, did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, we did have some discussion about the lighting of the top, the architectural elements at the top of the building. And I think that the general consensus of the board was that you all were okay with it. But we did have some discussion about that. It was left a little bit open-ended. Just want to make sure we touch on that.
I think it was about the lighting, the uplight, and I think we decided
Yeah.
that it was soft enough that it was okay.
It
Glaring.
felt different than the
Theirs is a
LED
con-
strip
It was
that
a
we had.
concealed light versus a like
LED
flat
strip,
place
right.
LED strip. And I drove by, there's one of these that was built recently in Panama City Beach. And I drove by it at night and it's not over the top.
Yeah, it's
sun,
more of a wall wash.
Correct. I mean, it looks like it's standard wash light.
Gotcha.
So no, I mean, like my main
That's why-
holdup last time was, like, and I'd said, like, we're giving up all this landscape to make this project work. I said, I don't care how you address it, but it needs to be addressed. I feel like you did address it, you got creative, you did give a little bit, fire pit and everything. So you've addressed my concerns regarding landscape, and this board is about, that's a major item of this board, and I appreciate you guys, figuring that out. So thank you.
I think it improved the project, so I think we're all
I
happy.
definitely agree. So, is there any other comments? Any public comments? Anyone else from the audience to speak? Anyone care to make a motion? Have a motion to approve? We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 and project approved. Item number 4, Thompson Corner roof pitch deviation. And I guess 4 and 5, the roof deviation and the project request.
Yes, these two go together. So the first one is a deviation application requesting approval of a deviation for roof pitch from 4 to 12 to 2 to 12. And then the project is, it's a minor development application submitted by Nautilus Civil Engineers requesting approval to develop a 9,767 square foot commercial building and associated infrastructure on 1 acre with a future land use of mixed use and a zoning of VMU. The project's located in District 5 at the corner of Thompson Road and Highway 98, the southwest corner. So we can discuss these together. Other than the roof pitch, the project is in compliance with the scenic corridor standards. They are not providing any signage at this time. I just want that to be known, that they don't know what the tenants are going to be or what signs they're going to want, so they have not provided any signage details at this time. So with that, I'll enter the staff report into the record, and I'll entertain any questions the board may have.
And note the staff report entered.
Both.
Both, for both item 4 and 5, the deviation and the development order.
And the applicant is here.
Curtis, is there anything you'd like to present?
Curtis Smith, Nautilus Civil Engineers. I think the renderings are inside of your packets. I believe we provided 10 or so renderings, and those are probably the best thing we've got to show the aesthetics of the site. We'll note on this, we do have a pretty large retaining wall and wet retention pond as part of this. We're putting a fountain in. It does show up on the renderings. The only thing it doesn't is the actual fountain. That'll come later once a spray pattern and things like that are chosen for it. But other than that, I think the renderings speak for themselves and the site plan as well. I think Jeff Margaretin is here, the architect, to speak on any questions you might have, and I think they've designed a pretty beautiful building here.
Okay. Jeff, would you like to come up and speak to the deviation request?
Hello, Jeff Margaretin, Margaretin Architectural. We are the architect for the project. The deviation request is very simple. We were looking for end caps to the long rectangular building. We were using the concept of the towers as a means of creating the multiple changes in the parapet, and then taking those end towers and giving them a little bit more style. We didn't feel the owner wanted something a little more on that modern side, mono pitch possibly, and we looked at that and enjoyed it. We did not feel that a 4 and 12 pitch roof on those ends made sense. We had a number of things that we were trying to accomplish. Heights of the parapet in order to block view of the rooftop equipment behind it. And then, of course, the end towers get even taller, and then the 4 and 12 pitch gets even taller. Didn't like the way it looked. We think that the 2 and 12 is a much better look and is certainly within the design ideals of the corridor as opposed to the 4 and 12. So, but it's just a standard deviation based on aesthetic merit.
Thank you.
I'm totally fine with the roof slope. I mean, I understand the language of the code has a certain purpose, and it's not for this.
Mhm.
Sort of a
It's-
flat roof metal building is what we're trying to keep out of, off the corridor, and that's not how this is being used. This is an element. I have no problem at all. Jeff, one question. Where you have the 3 parapets facing Highway 98 and the 3 on the, I guess, south
South
side
side.
where you enter the building. From the south side, they have like a depth to them because they actually do serve that purpose.
Right.
Would you be able to fake that depth on the south side to
We,
give them?
we are going to attempt, we're waiting for metal building drawings to come in. It has to do with what, metal buildings like to support. I am 100% in agreement of trying to get that to be thick, turn a corner, create an object out of that. Now, one thing that we did do is, in order to create that look of the tower, is we are alternating between inline and bypass girts on the metal building. So at the bent line, which is right there, we will be able to then create that additional 6 to 8 inches, probably 8 inches of depth on that. So once we do that and reach over the standard parapet width of the where the inline girt is, we're going to get upwards of 16 inches of width on that piece, with that goal, to your point, of making it feel like a more sturdy element on the edge. And we'll take those finishes and we'll wrap it around, so you'll get that feel that one is biting over the other. Yes.
I have a couple of questions. For the HVAC screen on the rooftop, one of the units closest to the tower, it's visible on the south elevation and then on the roof plan. Looks like it just has a screening partition that comes along just that south elevation side. Are there other features that would be screening that, kind of looking at the rear, kind of coming from the other direction? Or is that specifically just screening from the,
It's one of those things that came up where we said, okay, the original design intent of the monopitch building with the high parapet on the corridor side and the low section on the south side was to allow for all that depth, so we wouldn't even need a screen to begin with.
Okay.
Then we looked at it architecturally after the fact, I must admit, from the south side, and said, okay, we've solved the goal of the corridor, but maybe we should look at another screen element as well. The entrance towers you referred to also provide that screening, but not for the end units. And so that's why those screens are up there.
is it possible to see it from the other direction as well? Because it looks like if you're, I guess, standing or coming the other way.
It's funny, I've got these updated, which doesn't have that. I know,
I guess the goal of the question is to ensure that we're looking at screening from all 4 directions. And I just want to make sure that
yes.
accomplished by some physical element.
Yes, that's exactly what that screen was intended to do, was to solve the 4-sided question. And we believe we've done it. The applicant is Quality Air. I think that's the name of the company. And so they are the mechanical folks. And so we've talked to them about the units and the heights. And so we have, we have, oh, that's the DRB one? That's the one they're looking at. I think I brought a different set. And so those screens are tall enough to block that view. And much like your original question, Jonathan, we will probably have to turn that screen into the page in order to get proper blocking from the parking lot visibility.
And then the roof structure would cover from the other side.
Correct. Yeah, because it's well below the tower elements.
Okay.
But it's just those two units that ended up on the roof right there are the problems. Now, because I had said, and we might still look at the possibility of getting those units all behind where it says sign 2, sign 3, and sign 4. But depending on how much space he keeps for himself in that might be too far for that unit. And so if we can get those units behind those tower elements, all of them for the whole building, that is the reason behind, partial reason behind those towers. So we'll do our best. But even if we don't, we have provided a screening system that still meets the corridor guideline.
Am I to believe that everything that in the rendering feels very flat? There's nothing, no trees.
The renderings don't have the site landscaping on it. Those are totally architectural renderings for the building.
Because
Tried to get them to do trees, but.
the parking.
In almost 20 years, I don't know that I've ever seen a SketchUp model look. I mean, and I can provide photographs to the renderers, and I've never seen that.
But if you do find someone, please give me their number.
When we used to hand render in the office, that's about the way you got it.
The good old days.
No, if you look at the landscape plan, Lourdes, you'll see that almost everything is covered in a ground cover, not turf. And there's a heavy landscape screen on the perimeter of the building and then in front of each of the bays coming from the other side.
And from a landscape perspective, the pond area with the retaining wall, we had some interesting civil issues to contend with as far as, topography and all that. And so, we really think that that's going to provide landscape as well as interest on that corner. I mean, that's the Thompson Corner is really it's a fabulous cut through that nobody knows about except everybody in this room. And, so announcing that space, we felt was pretty important.
I'll say also on that wall, the renderings show it kind of as a flat, almost concrete wall. That's actually going to be a split face MSE wall. So very similar to the way that you see on the hospital, where you've got the split face block wall with the wet pond kind of integrated in it.
So Curtis, on that, the retaining wall that requires fall protection is all interior of the lot, correct? The portion that has?
Yes, correct.
The only retaining wall against adjacent property is to the west?
Correct. And that was
That's less than 30
something
inches?
we did not want to do. We were not able to come to agreement with that property owner. He for whatever reason, got feedback from someone that would devalue his land to have a cut through to Thompson, which was incorrect. So he would not give us a grading easement or even sign a cross access agreement. So we're dealing with Public Works now to actually say the cross access is there, and they will make them do that in the future, but the landowner just wouldn't cooperate, so we have to put that wall there.
So that, the dashed line there, that's from, you're not having to show that now for county, the cross access connectivity or whatever?
We are the cross access is in the rear, at the rear drive, and it will be there one day when that develops. That property owner actually has that on the market to sell, so eventually someone will buy that, and then we'll have to deal with structural modifications to a wall that we had to put because we couldn't get that agreement.
asking you, because you deal with this more, how does the placement of those dictate the next property where, like, or do you have ability to shift that or whatever, or how does that work?
That wall, we currently have it right at 6 inches off the property line, so the footing will be on the property line essentially with it stepped off 6 inches. It's not a big wall. We're only talking about 4 or 5 block high. It's a pretty small wall.
Okay.
And it'll be less than knee high, or about knee high. But since we can't go on this property to grade, we have to do that. So it'll be that block wall with a continuous shrub row across the top of it. And realistically, you won't really notice it very much being there because that property is wooded, and by the time they get ready to clear, it'll be for some development, and they'll fill it all up. Groundwater is only about a foot down, so you have to fill the lots to build on these.
When it looks like you're filling up to the level of the highway, so that lot would have to be filled up to the same level anyway. Correct.
Yes. It was, and we offered to fill and generate and contribute fill over that property line, and he would not accept it.
Was asked this by a realtor about this project, is why I was asking what is, that kind of stuff, so trying to understand the questions here, but it seems like in the end, that retaining wall along the east would become unnecessary.
On the west, you mean? On the
Or,
west?
sorry, the west.
Yes,
Would
when
become-
they fill the site, it will be totally unnecessary. It'll be buried.
Okay, so, and then the other retaining walls are all interior, it looks like on the lot.
That's
so-
correct.
Okay.
It's the only other retaining wall, is the pond wall. Yeah.
And Tim, just for clarification, even though we are seeing locations of signage on the elevations, there is no signage associated with the submittal. Okay, so would it be appropriate to make a motion that specifically calls out no signage approval with this?
Yes, I would say, because we've done it before, excluding signage. So you're approving the project excluding, which means that would have to come back to this board.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion with the board? Okay. Anyone from the audience to speak on this one? Okay, seeing no one. Yep, two motions. We will do the roof pitch deviation first, and then the development order second. Does anyone care to make a motion?
Motion to approve the deviation.
We have a motion for the deviation. Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Deviation passes. And then for the development order, does anyone care to make a motion on that one?
Motion to approve, excluding signage.
Excluding signage. Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve with the exclusion of the signage. All in favor? Aye.
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 And motion passes. Thank you. And Tim, it looks like we have some additional business. Do you care to present that for us?
Yes, the next item, Second and Charles, they want some board feedback on their proposal, which is in your packet. Before they move forward and turn this project in, they wanted some feedback. Because the first thing that jumps out to me is that orange is not an approved color. But they're here to discuss it.
Here. Aye.
I'm Melanie Smith. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for both Books A Million and Second and Charles. And thank you, Tim. And thank you guys for letting us come here to talk to you this evening. So yes, as the other colors were being reviewed, it was interesting that ours is definitely brighter and stands out. We're coming to you tonight for a preliminary, I guess in a preliminary effort just to kind of talk to you about, you know, who we are and what we do, and then kind of how that, you know, how that is reflected on the front of our building. So we are a 43 store chain, and we are in a lot of different cities, and you've got some of those examples there in your packet digitally. And you see that we've got, our brand is something that Orange is attached to, definitely for our customers. And so when our customers find us, they do that via our color. And so it's important to us, to show that, to continue that, even at 130 Scenic Gulf Drive. So that's kind of why we're coming to you. I'm certainly open for questions, but, mainly we wanted to get your feedback. We are going to sign, hopefully the lease on Tuesday. That's what the timing is looking like. And so very shortly after that, we will move to plans, and we wanted to get this in front of you guys in a, in a very proactive sort of way versus doing something and not having you guys, your input or your suggestions or recommendations.
Just a little background. This is in the same shopping center as CVS and Chick-fil-A. It's actually in two scenic corridors, Scenic Gulf Drive and Highway 98, but the design review board made a ruling, I can't tell you what year now, but that this plaza would be considered to be in the 98 scenic corridor. So I just wanted to put that out there because it's confusing. Same thing at the end of 30A in Inlet Beach. It's in the 98 and the 30A scenic corridors, but this is considered to be in the 98.
There was a restaurant that had awnings that came in last year in the same complex. Is that,
Yeah, there was a couple, there
remember the
used to
name of
be
the?
one or two,
There's a Domino's there right next door.
And I think this was,
there was an Oriental restaurant.
I don't remember the,
Yeah, there wasn't.
there was, did something replace the restaurant?
Paradise Found is there now.
Okay. I was thinking this was the one that had the blue, predominantly blue awnings, pinstriped awnings. On the corner.
Honestly, I don't remember. I haven't been out there in a while, but I remember I brought that sign for the restaurant before this
Yeah.
board.
Okay.
You guys are going to modify the building to look like this? Yes, sir. It doesn't look like this right now.
No, sir.
Right.
What was the building before?
Structurally the same way as it is today. We're only adding the signage cabinet on the front of the building.
Right, but I'm trying to locate it.
What was
What was
Paradise
there
Found?
before? Paradise?
Paradise Found is the current name. They just moved out.
There.
Okay, the
They tore it
Winn-Dixie.
down and built the CVS,
Okay,
and then they moved into where Bruno's was on Point Siena. That's the plaza, and sitting out front is Chick-fil-A there on the corner. I don't know how long that restaurant's been gone, but I remember that Oriental
oh, is
restaurant.
that where old 98 and 98 hit?
Yes,
Across
yes.
from Silver Sands?
Yes.
Okay.
We're seeing
The opposite side.
Yeah.
It's on the
Yeah.
Scenic Gulf side of.
Yeah.
Boards that I just am passing around is the inside of the store as well. That's not in your packet, but I wanted to add that so you see what it looks like once you cross the threshold, just to give you a little bit more information.
Right.
Greg Triola, Vice President
Or
of Construction and
color.
Development.
Spell that.
Close to this color that was in
OLA.
the Munsell colors? Was there no Munsell color that was close to this? That was approved?
I would almost guess probably not.
I mean, I was one of the
I don't
ones
think
that
you're gonna
picked the
get
colors.
Oh, were,
Munsell, so I don't remember,
Right,
but
yeah, I don't know.
I don't think you're gonna get anything very close to this.
no.
No primary colors. There's no red, blue, orange, yellow, green that are, there's shades of those colors, but
But that's what I was thinking, is there,
this is, I think this is bright enough that it's not going to be very close. Apply for a color deviation.
Is there any way that you could tone it down a bit? I mean, I know the square has to be orange, but.
As far as the balance of the building?
That would be my take, because I understand your brand color. It's like Best Buy blue or Home Depot orange. I mean, you can't change that. It's your brand. But that's your sign. And I guess my question is, can you, like the top band of the building, though, I think that's where we're trying to take that
Yeah.
color and use it on the building, because we talked with another applicant about the same thing in previous weeks about, because they had some of their brand colors, and we said, it's one thing to take them to your signage, and we can give a allowance for signage, but once you start trying to put them on the building, it's,
Right.
And I think in your examples that you have here, you do have an example from Texas that shows how I'm guessing that this responded to that town's design guidelines.
So the secondary color, the gray, is our accent color against the orange. So we certainly could take that back and change the open on the roof to
Mhm.
the gray, tone that down. The awnings are kind of something that we're really trying to get, but we can figure out a way to make that match with what the board would approve. That's what we're looking for, so we can go to plan. I'm in actually holding an architect right now, giving direction on which way to go. We have 150 days.
If we do this again, obviously, we want to be as close as possible based on what you guys
Yeah.
give us.
Avoid the
Absolutely.
discussion.
Well, I would think that the cornice would have to,
Be tradition, yeah, I would agree with that one.
and then the
Um,
awnings, I think, I don't know, if we could find a close
Yeah,
console color, that would be tone it down a bit, but,
I would agree. I feel like the awnings are going to be very bright against a lot of the muted colors.
We were out there today on site as they moved out. I was doing my final inspection. These awnings were red.
Mhm. Yeah.
well, that was one of the reasons why
Yeah.
we came up with a color chart. But, yeah, I mean, I like orange. My
Mhm.
house is painted orange, okay?
Mine's not.
And, so,
Sorry.
but it's,
Yeah, I think that one of the goals of the corridor is to have a more subtle color palette, and we absolutely understand brand identity.
Right.
And I think that there are pieces that we can be flexible on for those types of things. I feel like there's probably a better solution for the awnings than the orange. That you still have, I still think that we could probably support something with the signage. But I feel like, for me personally, that to support the signage, as large and as bright as it is, that the rest of the structure needs to feel a little more like the corridor. That's my personal feeling on it.
I think that if you tone down the awnings and the cornice to be more gray, I think that your signage is gonna even pop more.
Right.
Right.
So it's gonna take on, a lot more.
Would we still have to present a deviation?
For,
Behind, the cabinet behind the sign? Because if we adjusted the cornice colors and the awning colors to a gray and modified those, would
We're
we still
good
have to apply for a deviation for the box?
Tim?
Tim can answer, but I think the cabinet looks like part of the signage, so to me, it becomes part of the sign, and it would have to be a deviation, and I'm personally, it would have to be much smaller for me to vote for it.
Well, and that was going to be.
Just gonna cut to the chase right here.
Signage, the max signage is 54 square feet.
Where we are on the signage.
So the color does not apply to signage. Now, this board has required people to change the color to make it more in line with the building or whatever, but the code does not require color for signs.
I would say,
Square feet, it would
you
be-
know, I'm just gonna weigh in real briefly. I agree with everything that's been said about the orange awnings and the cornice band, but I am with Kelly. I like the Texas, the Monroe, Texas photo, except that I like the signage being three-dimensional like it is in the others. I think all three of those other ones have the lettering on and numbering on the signage is three-dimensional.
Channel letters versus cabinet. Yeah, the landlord
Right.
has restrictions
Yeah.
against cabinet.
Yeah. So, you know, that, to me, that Texas photo with that, channel letters on that sign would be fine with me. And that looks more like what we see on the corridor and what we require of other applicants. To be honest, you know, I'm betting that CVS next door would have loved to, you know, done some different things if they could have. So we have to just be careful with consistency. I'm sure everybody understands that. And, you know, in fairness between applicants and also just achieving the look that we're trying to achieve on this corridor. And so something like the Texas photo would be acceptable to me. And I think that would look good. And I do think, I agree that your sign will pop even more without the bright trim colors around it. And that it's a prominent location. You'll not have any trouble with people seeing you and finding you and knowing you're there. If you do something more in keeping with that Texas style.
And
Do I perceive it correctly? The Texas sign seems a little bit smaller than the one proposed.
They're all based on square footages of allowable for the storefront. So this is based on the current sign code at 54 square feet. And
Right,
you
but I
have-
mean, the Texas sign is smaller than that. It looks like.
It's actually not, it's just the photo. It's actually-
and Tim.
And I think, Tim, I'm sorry, Kelly.
Oh,
just
that's
on
okay.
that point,
Go ahead.
I think it begs the question, Tim, of is that cabinet an architectural element or part of the sign? We don't see, I don't recall much of that on the corridor. It's typically different, and that just makes this, with it being a primary color in the cabinet, it makes the sign stand out so much more, which I know companies like that, businesses like that, but that's not the idea of the corridor standards.
And Lee, that's exactly what I was gonna suggest, is it's probably better and safer to err on the side of caution to request the deviation, because we can always go down from there, but we cannot go up. So if you present something that we don't feel like meets that bar for whatever, we can't grant a deviation if it hasn't been advertised. So, and I'm curious to what everyone else thinks, but I kind of have mixed feelings about whether the cabinet is an architectural element or is it part of the signage, because of the side elevation that's here. The side elevation, and this may be not exactly accurate to how it is perceived, but that side elevation almost makes it feel like that is a part of that cornice board coming down. It almost kind of feels like that's a part of that architectural piece. And so to me, that almost would even require that as a deviation, because I don't feel like that's part of the signage at that point. I feel like it's more part of the building.
That's the reason why we're adding this architectural.
mhm. Yeah.
Very limited
Right.
storefront, and our signage is stacked, and this is the way.
And I don't have a problem with that graphically, but just from is it signage, is it architectural feature? That's just what, seeing that built out, and maybe it's just the way that it's kind of rendered here, really does lead me to strongly feel more architectural element than sign face.
Well, I think it is an architectural element because it's giving you the break of, you know, what you require architecturally of
Right.
the building, which is the change
Mm-hmm.
in elevation.
That side elevation just really kind of highlights that for me, just to,
And I think too, to add to that, the size and the size, the face size and depth of it is making it more of an architectural element than part. When I first looked at it, I felt like it was part of the sign, but now that I've been looking at it more, I think that's what's driving my thought and feeling about it, is that it's the size of it and the depth of it. It's just, it just does, it becomes a part, an architectural element of the building.
As for deviation on the color.
So just to kind of summarize, the cornice subdued, the awnings subdued, the size of the cabinet on the storefront rendering more in line with Texas. We're in compliance with the sign code at 54 square feet.
I think that feels,
Yes.
I think it's just gonna, you'll have to look at it proportionately when you start moving the dimensions
Definitely.
around, but,
Definitely.
that sounds about what I think we're saying.
Get us close. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All right. I think we're good. Thank you. No, I don't, this is not an actionable item, so no motion or comments, right? Yep, okay. And then the last one, Tim,
Yes,
additional business
lastly,
8.
we need some clarification on Metcalf. The motion required them to extend the brick, and we just need clarification that what they've provided us is what the board was requesting.
So there's one printout of the elevations. We're going to start over here with Lourdes and work around. Is there any way we could either email or hold up? But the request that we made of, this is the blue and pink, no, sorry, this is the Metcalf. The request was that we took a water table of brick down the side of the metal building.
That was Jeff's, okay.
So, absolutely, come on. That'd be much easier since I've just looked at it and not, so the question is, does this meet what we were wishing to achieve? And,
Can I see what you have?
yeah,
When you
we're-
get done with it?
Mhm.
Here. Thank you.
Are you able to see the brick transitioning down, Lee? Okay.
Yes, that's the darker part toward the bottom
Yes.
that steps down as it goes back. Okay. Oh, that roof line looks much better. Yay.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what we were trying to do is so that the building would be consistent all around. And the brick down.
Yeah. Well, I think we were talking about trying to get a few feet so that brick water table gets to run all the way down and then transitioning it. I mean, I don't think the intention was ever to just do 2 more long brick walls of, of brick, because it's, but I think we've accomplished the,
And the motion ask for the water table height and the transition for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's, the question is how much of the transition, and should that, the water table extend to just the building elements that it's on, or if it needed to go on the other portion of building as well. Okay, that's the part you're getting, okay. That's kind of how I heard. the
I
motion.
envisioned it as a singular height all the way down. Is that what you all thought? I don't,
No, I mean,
I didn't
I
envision
understand the
stepping down like
tapering
that.
down, but I mean, it almost like,
Is
at
it,
a certain point, the lower part, you just sort of like make it continuous or all around.
well, we did the two main sides of the building. Now, remember, there's a jog back. The northern portion of the building has a plus or minus, my apologies for not knowing, about 15, 20 feet thinner in the back. So it jogs back. We didn't continue it in that far back corner because that's, I mean, not even visible from anything. It's the back area. We went down the full western side of the building and then the full eastern side of that larger front portion of the building. Well, I mean, do we have it up there? Do you have that? Or,
You can pull it up from, if you go to the link from last.
yeah, I didn't bring it with me. I didn't know it was on the meeting. I just saw it and it's like, oh, I'll stick around for that.
I think that was my fault on that one. So
Yeah,
I didn't feel like that was something
I
I
mean,
could make a decision on.
effectively, it's a rectangular building, but the back upwards of 40, 50 feet of it or so is thinner than the rest of it. And so it jogs back and it allows for some parking back there.
Gets thinner back there.
Right,
You can almost see it in this rear elevation.
There would be a break line there. There's the roof height changes because it's spanning a, lesser amount. So, yeah, it just,
Well, my point was that we're trying to avoid the fact that you have buildings that only have the front brick and then everything else is metal because you don't see it so we want to make it three-dimensional.
right,
And,
so
so you did carry the brick on the sides,
We-
which is nice.
and then we have that entrance element for the office tower. No, it's not a tower anymore, I forget that. But you have that office signage piece that's not just an office, but we have that, EFIS, I think is what we're going with, I forget, on that office element. So there is something happening back there. I mean, it just running more and more brick all the way around the building just didn't, to places where no one's really going. It's the stock room. for the
I don't
buil-
have a problem with where the brick stops so much. I would actually rather if you took the lower height and just ran it until the brick goes all the way up. That would actually be my preference.
Yeah,
Nothing like stepping on that building other than that brick beside.
it was something that came up. I couldn't agree with you more, but I know that we had talked about this, the transition of front to back. So this idea of stepping seemed to be a thing to do. I would prefer it be a nice consistent height, as opposed to trying to make this, we're not following a contour or anything. A water table height is a very logical thing, and a tower on the front is a very logical thing. Everything that transitions from A to B is completely arbitrary.
I agree. It just looks like forced playfulness that
Yeah.
doesn't need to be there. I'd rather, I know we asked for brick, but I'd like to see that portion where it steps up removed would be my preference.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's simpler.
I do too.
I just, my take is that I would like not to see the step down, but I would like the brick to go to the office and, you know, follow through, but, outvoted on that.
Ooh, do I get a vote?
You know, because it's
Well, I mean,
it's consistent throughout for the building, you
And
know?
when I went back and listened, I didn't go back and listen to the audio, but I know that Kim, the planner, or Kelly, the planner that was here did, and she didn't hear anything about it stopping before that office portion. She interpreted full length of the building. So that was kind of why because I didn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, because it just separates the two. I mean, you know, why should it be separate? I mean, if you continue that, but that's my point.
And
I think it would be nice to just continue it all the way to and marry the office.
I mean, that's the thing is we have that office entrance becoming its own thing there. Look, you know, I think that we've made by going in reverse, we've made a couple of vast improvements by, you know, going back to the original design. Now we've added the brick. Now we're going to add a little bit more brick. And I understand and I hear. I know that the client would just like to move forward. So what I heard was cascading, and now we're looking at not cascading and we just want a direction.
I think we
And
talked
so-
about transitioning the
Yeah.
brick, and we didn't say
Cascade.
Or,
cascading.
no,
Yeah.
transitioning.
Yeah.
And the transition,
And
so
I kind
if
of
I
feel
can,
like the vertical element on your tower creates that transition, and I can't tell from the elevation
yeah,
how far that turns the corner, but
it turns quite a bit because there's two awnings.
yeah.
It goes the full depth of two awnings, you know, to,
Yeah, I think to me, the transition feels like that's where the transition occurs, and that I agree with everyone else. We don't do the cascading. We just run the two heights. You know, we've got the tower height and the water table height.
and do I need to put it on the rear of the building? I mean,
Yeah.
really? It doesn't seem very necessary to have it on the rear of the
I'm
building.
trying to remember how the site
It's
plan
not
set up.
providing anything. But
But
no, and, you know, look, these are, you know, long linear rectangular sites all stacked up on a row on a major corridor, right? It's not seen from all these three dimensions. It's, you know, it's designed, you know, for its purpose. Personally, I don't see the need for the brick to go past 50, 60 feet at some point. It just doesn't serve a purpose. I understand the code, I understand the request and the reasoning. So at some point, it's a matter of moving forward. I don't see the purpose for it to be on the rear of the building. I could even make the argument that there's the one piece at the jog, that rear of the building. Does it have to do that and then only that one little piece doesn't get it? You know, I think we're all in agreement that this is a good solution. This is a good design. This works within the corridor. We're all excited. I think we have a lot of cooks in the kitchen. Please, I suggest we all make a good decision together. Stand at the mercy of the court.
So we're not relitigating this.
Right.
We're
No.
asking for clarification of the motion.
When you voted on it last week, or last month, did you expect that water table height was gonna go the full length of the building, or the full length of the front portion that was visible and not on the jog outside? That's the question.
I had thought we were only taking it to the back of the front building, so that was what I had thought, but
Okay.
Laura's, clearly thought it was going around, so.
Well, I mean, it's, like I said, it's only my opinion. I mean, not everybody has to agree. So
Lee, how do you
I don't
recall
think
that?
that, I don't think it has to be the say. I have this pet
As
peeve
a-
about, the front,
I agree. No, I I hear you. I do. As an architect, I think of things from all sides, and sometimes though we're in a position where that's not the question we're being asked. This site does not perform that question to us, does not offer it, and so, but I think to go right to the heart of the reason why we're at today's meeting is what Tim so aptly just said, is we're clarifying. So I would suggest that my interpretation of the motion from last week was that this needs to go down the three sides of the front portion of the building. We've done that we've gone down both portions of the building, if you will, on the longer side, and the side which is the eastern side, which has the jog, we went down that, because that's the front of the building. We see the back of the building as that. That was our interpretation. I request of the board to let me know if I was incorrect or correct in that interpretation of that. If we need to change that brick, then we will do so.
well, what we, obviously, right now, what we're saying is the stepping of the brick is, you don't have to do that.
Love that.
That is clear.
Done. Won't be there tomorrow after 10 o'clock when I tell them to take.
And, and all I'm saying is that's, my opinion is.
Better
that
construction to
I-
not have it too.
That's how I feel, but
Yeah,
I mean, no.
that's fine.
No, I'm not saying everybody has to agree.
Yeah.
I can see arguments both ways, but, I kind of feel like with that other piece of the building recessed, that the material change kind of makes sense.
That's fine. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm just being,
I don't know that I thought in that specific detail about it last month, so that's probably, we were, we had a long agenda. I think I would be comfortable stopping it at the front building portion as long as, it's even. If that's the direction that we feel.
right now, when you
yeah.
see that elevation, it just,
Yeah.
it's a clean stop.
Right. And then I feel like just remembering back to the site plan, that it seemed to make sense, that transition, or else maybe we would have thought about something around the rear of the building. I don't guess I have a problem with the material change. Because we would almost want a material change with the elevation
Yeah.
change. But that's me. So do we have any kind of consensus for direction? Do we want to?
Let me just clarify, is the only question left at this point whether it goes down the sides of the building or just only, or whether it wraps around the back of the building?
No. So the question is, the wording that we used last month was that we wanted the water table height to extend down the two sides of the building, so that, in effect, we never discussed the rear side. It was the three sides, the front facade, and then the water table down both sides of the building. So what we're,
Okay, so the thing is, in order for it to go all the way
Oh, I
to the
see where it
office
stops.
entrance, you would have to go
wrap the whole back
wrap
of that
the back
section and
and
then
then
go.
go to that.
Exactly.
That portion of the building back there is about 20 or so feet thinner than the rest of the building.
Yeah, you can almost see it in the
And
rear
it
elevation.
steps in.
Yeah.
Plan right there. The
And it
building's-
steps in
Right.
Yeah.
It
or back?
actually, the building is thinner. So the building comes this way, that way. And so it's
And is that the
back-
east or the west?
Right. It's
Is it
on the
the east or
west
the west?
side, we're going all the way down because there wouldn't be a logical
Okay,
place
that's on the east.
to stop.
Yeah, that to
I think
me,
it makes sense.
yeah, it does make sense.
Sides.
Okay.
If we recommended 2 sides.
Straw
then-
poll says that works
I
on the
think
main
it's a
building.
it's an improvement, the roof looks better, everything.
Yeah,
That's
and
why
the-
I'm
the-
like,
So,
Yeah.
front building.
Okay.
Front building, well,
Take your transition out and not on
Hey.
the
Fine.
office section.
may I suggest there's a proper wording amongst you all that is written that everyone goes, yeah.
We're not taking action on this one. This is
Oh.
just us reviewing. So
So since we
I've got
said
my
3
marching
sides,
orders.
Since we said 3 sides, and in order to take it all the way to the office entrance, you would have to go 4-sided. So
5.
therefore, we're set with the 3 sides as
Thank
we
you.
required the last time. Okay?
You guys are awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Do you want this back for your record?
so I believe that is everything.
For your wall?
Motion to adjourn
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
Motion to
Okay.
adjourn.
in second and all in favor.
Aye.
Let's go home. Thank you.
Aye.
Guys, you don't have